Alex had never imagined his first diplomatic mission for Earth would bring him to the edge of the galaxy. The vast, star-studded space was like nothing he'd ever seen. He had always dreamed of exploring the unknown, but now, standing on the edge of a foreign planet, those dreams felt more like a heavy weight than a thrilling adventure. The planet he had arrived on was known as Xina, and it was ruled by an ancient, powerful alien race. The Xina had long been a mystery to humans, their technology far ahead of anything on Earth. But Alex's mission wasn't about studying their tech or even their history. It was about peace. He was part of a team sent to establish a friendly alliance with the Xina Empire, to open new doors for trade and cultural exchange. But what Alex didn't expect was the royal family. The Xina queen, Nuvira, was as ancient as the empire itself, wise and calculating. Her daughter, Princess Lyra, was another matter entirely. She was young, beautiful, and far too charismatic for Alex's comfort. From the moment he met her, he felt a strange sense of unease. Lyra was nothing like the alien leaders Alex had imagined. She had an energy, a presence that was hard to ignore. She was kind, welcoming, and intelligent, but there was something about her that made Alex feel out of place. She was a royal. He was a mere diplomat. The cultural divide between them seemed insurmountable. Their first meeting was in the grand hall of the royal palace, a place filled with opulence and alien beauty. Alex had been introduced to her by Queen Nuvira herself, who seemed to take a special interest in him. The princess, dressed in flowing robes of gold and silver, had extended her hand with a smile that lit up the entire room. "Welcome to Xina, Earth diplomat," she had said, her voice musical and soothing. "I hope you find our home as welcoming as we've found your people." Alex had shaken her hand, but he couldn't help but notice the way her eyes lingered on him. There was something about her gaze, something that made him feel both admired and uncomfortable. He couldn't explain why, but he found himself avoiding her gaze, turning away whenever their eyes met. Lyra noticed. At first, she thought it was nothing more than shyness or perhaps the formalities of diplomacy. But as the days went on, it became clear that Alex was deliberately keeping his distance from her. She didn't understand why. The others seemed at ease with her, engaging in polite conversation and admiring her beauty and intellect. But Alex, he was different. Every time they spoke, there was a stiffness between them, a barrier that she couldn't break. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Lyra decided she had had enough. She asked one of her attendants to find Alex, and within moments, she was walking towards the gardens, the moonlight casting long shadows across the marble paths. She had a plan. She would find out why he was avoiding her, and she would not let him escape without an answer. Alex was standing by the edge of a fountain, staring into the water. He looked lost in thought, unaware of her approach. She stopped a few paces behind him, unsure of how to begin. But then, in the stillness of the night, she gathered her courage and spoke. "Alex," she said softly, her voice gentle but firm. "Why do you avoid me?" He turned around, startled. His face was a mixture of surprise and discomfort, but he quickly masked it with a neutral expression. I'm not avoiding you," Alex replied, his words coming out more quickly than he intended. "It's just that I have a lot of work to do. I need to focus on the mission." Lyra tilted her head, unconvinced. "Don't lie to me, Alex. I've seen the way you behave when I'm near. You avoid eye contact, you keep your distance. Why?" Alex felt a tightness in his chest. He had been expecting this conversation, but he didn't know how to respond. How could he explain to a princess, an alien, that he was avoiding her because of a deep, uncomfortable feeling he couldn't control? He paused, struggling to find the right words. "I don't know how to explain it." Lyra stepped closer, her curiosity growing. "You can tell me, I promise I won't be offended." He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his words. "It's not you," he said slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's me." Lyra frowned, confusion crossing her face. "What do you mean?" I mean that I'm not sure how I fit into this world of yours, Alex continued, his voice thick with emotion. You're a princess and I'm just a human diplomat. I don't belong here, Lyra. I don't belong in your world and I don't belong in your life. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with the unspoken truth that had been plaguing Alex since the moment he met her. It wasn't just about the cultural divide. It was more than that. It was the realization that, no matter how hard he tried to push it away, there was something about Lyra that made him feel both drawn to her and terrified of what that meant. Lyra was silent for a long time. She took a step back, her mind racing. She had never been confronted with such honesty before. No one had ever dared to reject her or avoid her, especially not because of who she was. She had always been treated like a symbol, a future queen, admired from a distance but never truly seen for who she was. But Alex's words, they were different. He wasn't rejecting her as a person. He was rejecting the very idea of them together. He was afraid of what that might mean for both of them. I'm sorry, Alex muttered, looking down at the ground. I didn't mean to offend you. Lyra shook her head, her expression softening. You didn't offend me, Alex. I just don't understand. Why would you avoid me for something like that? I'm not some untouchable princess. I'm just me. Alex raised his gaze to meet hers, his eyes filled with a mixture of pain and regret. You don't understand. You're royalty, Lyra, and I'm just a man from Earth. Our worlds can never truly intersect. There's too much between us. The distance is too great. Lyra stood there, her heart pounding in her chest. She had never imagined that someone would feel that way about her. She had always been raised to believe that her status was a gift, that her power and position made her special. But Alex's words made her question everything. What did it mean to be special if no one could truly see her for who she was? Is that really the reason? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Because of your status, because of the difference in our worlds, Alex nodded, but then he hesitated. There was something in his eyes, a flicker of something deeper, something he wasn't saying, something that had been haunting him ever since he first laid eyes on her. I'm afraid that if we cross that line, he said quietly, it would destroy both of us. Lyra didn't know how to respond. She stood in front of him, her mind racing. Could it be true? Could something so simple, something as seemingly small as a human feeling, really tear them apart? I don't think you know what you're saying, she said softly, but there was a determination in her voice. You can't make decisions about us before we even try. Alex opened his mouth to respond, but the words stuck in his throat. How could he explain to her that his fears weren't just about cultural differences or status? They were about something far deeper, something that neither of them could control. For the first time in their encounter, Alex realized that maybe, just maybe, he had underestimated the power of their connection. He couldn't explain it. It was more than just attraction or diplomacy. There was something about Lyra that drew him in, something he couldn't ignore. But for now, he remained silent, unsure of what to say next. And as the night stretched on, Lyra stared at him, wondering if they would ever get the chance to find out. The days following Alex's conversation with Lyra were filled with confusion and quiet reflection. Alex couldn't stop thinking about what he had said. His words had left an impact on him that he hadn't expected. He had believed that avoiding Lyra would keep things simple, that it would protect both of them from complications they couldn't handle. But now, after speaking so honestly with her, things felt much more complicated than before. The princess had been quiet after their conversation in the garden. She hadn't reacted the way Alex had expected. She hadn't been offended or angry. Instead, she had seemed confused, perhaps even lost in her own thoughts. That was the hardest part for Alex, the look of uncertainty in her eyes. He had never seen someone so regal, so full of confidence, question everything they had known. It troubled him deeply. But despite his doubts, Alex kept his distance, focusing on his work. He had come to Xina for a mission after all, peace, diplomacy. That was what mattered, not his personal feelings or the potential relationship with the princess. His mind kept coming back to the same conclusion. Their worlds were too different. His Earth, with its simple, fragile ways, was nothing like her advanced civilization. They could never be equals, not in any meaningful sense. He was just a visitor, a passing stranger. She was a future ruler of an entire empire. It was early one morning when Alex was summoned to the palace once again. This time, it was Queen Nuvira herself who requested his presence. The queen was known for her wisdom, and Alex had been both nervous and intrigued every time they had met. He knew she was powerful, and he couldn't shake the feeling that she had seen through him since the moment they met. The queen was as ancient as the stars themselves, and her mind seemed just as vast. But today, as Alex walked into the grand chamber, she didn't have the commanding presence he had expected. Instead, there was a soft urgency in her eyes. "Alex," she said, her voice steady but lacking its usual sharp edge, "I've been thinking about our discussions, about you and Lyra." Alex swallowed hard. "Your Highness," he began, bowing his head respectfully. I know I've been distant. I didn't mean to offend you or your daughter." The queen raised a hand to stop him. "It's not offense I am concerned with," she said slowly. "It's something else, something more important." Alex looked up, meeting her gaze. "What do you mean?" "Lyra is not like the others," Queen Nuvira said. "She is my only child, and I have spent her entire life preparing her for the responsibilities she will one day face. She will inherit the throne, but she will not inherit the world as I did. She will face a much more complex future, one that I cannot fully prepare her for. And now," her voice softened, "now she is confused." Alex felt his heart tighten. He had expected many things from this conversation, but not this. He had assumed Queen Nuvira would side with her daughter, that she would be angry with him for avoiding Lyra. But instead, there was a sadness in her eyes, something that made Alex feel like he was staring at a side of the queen he had never seen before. "She doesn't understand why you avoid her," the queen continued. "And neither do I." Alex felt a wave of guilt wash over him. "I didn't want to hurt her," he said quietly, "but I thought it was better this way. I thought it would protect her." Queen Nuvira stepped closer, her presence overwhelming. "Protect her," she repeated. "From what?" "From herself. From the reality of what she will face as queen. What you see as protection, Alex, is only avoidance. You are avoiding your feelings and you are avoiding her." "I never meant to hurt her," Alex said, his voice filled with regret. "But I'm not from her world. I can't pretend that we're the same. Her life, her future is so much more than mine. I can't." He paused, struggling to find the right words. "I can't be a part of that. I'm just human. I'm just a visitor." The queen's eyes narrowed, but she didn't seem angry. Instead, she seemed to understand. She had known, of course. She had always known that Alex's human nature was something that could never truly blend with the life of the Xina. But that didn't mean she didn't wish for something more. Perhaps it was a mother's hope, or a ruler's desire for a peaceful future. But the reality of it was clear. The gap between Alex and Lyra, between Earth and Xina, was vast. That couldn't be ignored. "You are not just a visitor," the queen said softly, almost as if to herself. "You are more than that. You have already influenced my daughter in ways I never imagined. But you must understand this, Alex. You are not the only one who feels this divide. My daughter has known her entire life that she was destined for something greater. But she never knew that it would come with such a cost. And now she finds herself torn between two worlds. You must decide if you are willing to help her find her way, or if you will leave her to face this challenge alone." Alex's mind raced. He had come to Xina with a clear purpose, a mission to establish peace. But now he was being asked to make a choice he had never prepared for. Could he really leave Lyra knowing that she was struggling? Could he abandon her just because of the distance between their worlds? "I never meant to leave her," Alex whispered, his voice heavy. "But I don't know how to make this work. I don't know how to be the person she needs." The queen placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch surprisingly gentle. "It is not about being the person she needs. It is about being the person you are. If you cannot accept that, then perhaps it is better to walk away. But if you truly care for her, Alex, then you must fight for her. Fight for something greater than the boundaries that divide you." The words hit Alex like a wave. He had never considered it that way. It wasn't about pretending that they were the same or that they could live in the same world. It was about accepting the differences between them and still finding a way to be together. But was that even possible? As the queen finished speaking, Alex felt something shift inside him. The path ahead wasn't clear, but one thing was certain. He couldn't walk away from Lyra. Not now, not after everything they had shared. Not after the way she had looked at him, so full of hope, despite the walls that surrounded them both. "I will try," Alex said finally, his voice filled with determination. "I will try to make this work. I will try to help her, even if it means facing the impossible." Queen Nuvira nodded, her eyes filled with a deep understanding. "Then you are braver than most," she said softly. "But remember, Alex, the road you are choosing is not easy, and it may cost you more than you realize." Alex took a deep breath, his heart pounding in his chest. He had no idea what the future held, but for the first time he felt like he was ready to face it. Ready to stand beside Lyra, no matter the consequences. The challenge ahead would be great, but he wasn't going to back down now. As he left the queen's chambers, his mind was spinning with thoughts of Lyra. He didn't know if she would accept him or if they could truly make it work. But he knew one thing for certain: he wasn't going to give up on her. Not now, not ever. He found Lyra later that evening, walking along the palace grounds as she always did when she needed to think. She looked up as he approached, her eyes still filled with confusion, but also something else: hope. Maybe that was all he needed to see, that spark in her eyes, the belief that something could change. Maybe, just maybe, they could change the world together. "I'm sorry," Alex said as he reached her side. "I should have never avoided you. I should have been honest from the start." Lyra's gaze softened and she smiled, a small but genuine smile. "I'm glad you're here, Alex," she said, her voice quiet but full of warmth. "I was beginning to think I had lost you." "You haven't lost me," Alex said, his voice steady. "I'm not going anywhere." And for the first time, Lyra believed him. She believed that despite the distance between their worlds, despite the challenges that lay ahead, they could find a way to be together. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough.